Welcome to the Brenda Lynn Experience, where we elevate your life with new levels of thought and strategies and just high vibration. This is where we welcome you into a new world. Our topic for today is discover your true authentic brand identity for the new era of business. And I am thrilled to welcome my incredible mentor, AliNICOLE WOW, who has guided me through my metamorphosis and into a new way of being with just unmatched mastery. As the all trades authority, Majesty Almighty AliNICOLE WOW is most known as the ultimate multi-hyphenate magnate in the media. She is cross-trained in over 200 areas, the creator of over 500 digital products and more than 300 works published on Amazon. She has also created over 1,000 online platforms that serve different industries under her Wow, She Does It All empire. She enjoys helping multifaceted leaders and multi-skilled entrepreneurs develop their authentic brand expression to serve several niche markets for high-end empire success. Welcome, AliNICOLE.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here with you, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction. You know, you're one of my favorites, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you to share.
Awesome. Yeah, we do work very well together, and you have definitely brought out my multifaceted different dimensions. So let me ask you, like, how did you get started with this multifaceted nature of your Wow, She Does It All empire? Did it start there, or did you grow into that?
Well, it was definitely an evolution. It was a metamorphosis type of process. And when I first started in the coaching industry, the life purpose strategy industry, I did start out with kind of a traditional niche focus. But my evolution of doing multiple things, I was coined as the spiritual multiplicity pioneer.
Okay.
And so I found that throughout my journey, not just in terms of when I started doing coaching, but even before, I had different things that I was always doing for different people, or even my jobs that I had. I took on various different roles. And so I started cross-training myself in a variety of different areas. And then when I started getting into being an entrepreneur, is that I was teaching from multiple levels. And so that multiplicity just became a way of being. And again, it was my nature. And so I started pioneering a new expression, because traditionally in the coaching arena or even the entrepreneurial arena, there's this focus on nailing down a niche and just having a one niche focus. And so that never actually really sat well with me. Even when I tried to do it, I saw that I was operating in these different dimensions, and then how I was teaching others to start bringing those aspects out. And so my journey sort of evolved from being the spiritual multiplicity pioneer, which I still embody all of that, into cross industries entrepreneurship. And so I started teaching that, where it was for individuals to now start cross branding themselves in a very unique way, where they could serve different niche markets. And so I started creating a robust of products and publications that could support different industries. And this really came out of me leveraging my life as a niche. And so it went on from there, that as this kept evolving and expanding, then the Wow, She Does It All was birthing, because when people would find out the different functionalities that I could show up in different roles, it was always like a wow to people. It was a wow factor. And it was just
well, I know that you have really brought out multiple dimensions of me. As a business, I was always aware that I had multiple dimensions.
Yes,
even in my traditional role as in finance, as a chief financial officer. I labeled myself as the chief everything else officer.
Yes, right.
Because it was anything that people didn't want to do, the HR components, the office management components, the redesign the office and reconstructed components, like everything that nobody else, that didn't fall into their very narrow niches, was kind of up for grabs. And I just thrived in the variety of different tasks, and realized that I had that skill living deep within me where I could take command of pretty much everything, even if it was
Right.
way outside of my wheelhouse. I could take command of it and did a great job with it. So my label of chief everything else officer started way back then, and now
Yeah, right.
working with you and seeing, like, going even deeper into that world and revealing, not just revealing all of these aspects, but
Yeah.
figuring out how to bring them into a brand, how to monetize
Absolutely.
all of these aspects of me, my artwork, my writing, my, the lessons I learned from raising teenagers
Right,
and
right,
kids and
right.
now grandkids and the education system. It just, everything comes together. So thank you.
Yeah, it does. It
Thank you
does.
for
And that,
that.
that was so perfect for you to share that. And one of my CFO functionalities that I use, my term is cross-functional officer. Because
Yeah.
that's basically what you are, is that you are cross-functional in what you do. And so you are the chief of everything, in the sense that pertains to the different areas that you can bring out. And that's a part of the allness that you get to express. And when you can look at yourself, just how you beautifully explain, in these different categories, and even if people are looking at it from the standpoint of jobs and different roles and functionalities, now when you take a role out of a job description, or so you look at all the different roles that you play, you can then serve different industries based on just that role. And a lot of times people don't look at that because they look at, I'm in this role, this is my job, and I have this job description that has all these different, operations or functionalities, roles that you participate in. But when you see those as different industries, it takes on a different nature, because like what you mentioned about being a chief financial officer, in a sense, is that you are that, but then there's the human resource aspect.
Oh, I
And
know
then
that was my favorite part with that. Like I was good at doing the numbers. It's a very
yeah.
solitary thing. I closed my door and I'd have to really get into that left brain process. But
Yeah,
really,
right.
when I look at everything I did, it was the people aspect
Right,
of
right.
the job, which really was not typical of your average chief
No,
financial officer.
CFO,
Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
they
Right.
don't like people. They don't want to be around people
Right.
generally. They're not really good at managing people in the traditional sense, in those traditional roles. And I came in there as a very different individual. I just broke the mold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what happens when you're multifaceted. You're a
Yeah.
multifaceted leader, is that you are in spaces to pioneer a new way of being, a new expression. And when you can look at the different roles of operation, like again, going back to the human resource aspect, then you can also teach those who are emerging in human resource, or how to best
Oh,
operate in
absolutely.
those roles. You can teach from that perspective, and that is an industry within itself. That's a niche market that you can serve. And so when
And
individuals,
this is what,
go ahead.
with the new world, with the new,
Yeah.
the kids that are coming in now, they aren't a single niche focus.
Absolutely
These kids,
not. Right.
the ones that are coming up into leader positions, the
Mhm.
millennials, the Gen Ys, the Gen Zs, that are
Yes.
coming up into those positions, they're not going to fit into this old mold. And I've
No.
seen that for the last 25 years. Like, we got to
Right.
change something before these guys actually get up into leadership positions, because they're not made for that old world.
Oh no, and they're going to
For
be
a new
very
world, and we
disruptive.
have to,
They're going to be very disruptive, and that's
yeah,
actually one of my other coined titles, that I'm known as the ultimate industry disruptor too, is because
yeah,
being able to know that there are always new eras emerging, especially in the business dynamics, and there are different landscapes within the business marketplace that are wanting to be carved out, because of not just the current models not serving, but also for the emerging, like what you mentioned, those who are coming up. And some of the millennials, even now, they are longing for something different. They're wanting to
absolutely.
showcase
This is
different
why we see
aspects.
the stress, anxiety, the burnout
Yeah,
happening, people
yeah.
changing professions like multiple times in short, in a matter of
In
a few
short,
years,
yes. Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
and I really believe that this strategy of being
Mm-hmm.
able to access that multidimensionality of our beings is
Yes.
going to eliminate some of that needing to hop from this to that to this to that, trying to find your place in a one niche world.
Right, where you
You
can
have
be
to
the
show up
embodiment of it
multidimensionally.
all.
Yeah, you can show up with your multidimensionality and really do everything that you are capable of doing in the world without being limited or stuck into some kind of a box. That's the new world that we're bringing in, AliNICOLE.
You are absolutely right. And that's why being authentic and versus just authentic, because a lot of times people, especially brands, and we'll, focus more on the brand identity aspect, is that individuals feel that when they are good at a signature focus, they start to lock themselves into an identity for that specific thing. Where in this new era of what's emerging is that solo brands and entrepreneurs are going to be more about serving the multi-interest aspect of their core audience, because we are all multi-interest people. And so,
Absolutely. That's
when
your
you
audience. Your audience is multidimensional.
they are
Like
multi-dimensional. And
they're looking for
so,
somebody to show up that looks and feels and talks like them. And
yes,
when you can do that and bring your all authentic self to that
yes,
mix, then you're going to be received in a much, especially by these new up and coming generations, the new world, and even
yeah,
the older generations that are still in the workforce. They're
yes.
feeling this change, this shift in the world,
Oh,
and what they
absolutely.
have
And
to do.
not to date ourselves, but we are amongst that
Oh yeah, I'm
that
there.
era. And that's why having to pioneer this multidimensional expression and being the allness of who we are, that is what really truly represents us. It's not being authentic in terms of, okay, here I am, and this is what I'm signaturely known for. That's a part of being authentic.
Yeah,
But again, most people
absolutely.
then start to identify themselves in that way, and then people come to know them, and then they lock them into that identity, that when it's time for them to make some type of shift in business evolution and brand evolution, a lot of times people can't sync up with a shift in the branding, because they've now come to lock them into just identifying them as just that specific thing. Now you can imagine that definitely hurts the impact and the income of a business owner when they don't have the flexibility to have that evolution and have their audience evolve with them,
With
especially
them,
if it
yeah,
takes on a different
absolutely.
nature.
Yeah, I have what I've found in the work that I've been doing with you and the,
Yeah.
kind of that metamorphosis that I've come through
Mhm.
is that it's not like the old stuff disappeared.
Right.
It's like I get to repackage it.
Mhm.
And all the stuff that I used to teach to executives, to adults, and I thought
Mhm.
that was the beginning and end of my market was I talked to, grown-ups, and I talked to, higher end executives.
Yes, right.
But as you know, now all of a sudden the lessons that I teach them,
Mhm.
I woke up and I'm writing a children's book, and I'm now
Right.
reframing that language and that same specialty, that same
Mhm.
expertise, and putting it into the language for a 10-year-old, because it's very appropriate for these young people to
Yeah,
learn
definitely.
the stuff that I teach executives, and adults at an older age. It's really important that they learn it at a young age. And so it's not even that my area of expertise changed, the audience that I'm approaching and the way I'm
Yeah,
approaching
it's just it's
shifted
more expansive,
fit.
and who
Yeah.
you can serve with that gift, and with
Yeah.
that area.
That's exciting.
Definitely. It is. It is. Yes,
I
it
can't tell you
is.
how many executives I worked with that said, how do we get this to our kids?
Mhm.
Like, we need to teach our kids these skills. And I'm going, I don't know. I don't know. And then
Right.
all of a sudden I wake up and go, now I know.
Now you
Now I
know.
know. And I put a children's book together with all these lessons in less than a week. So,
Right.
but it's and because the expertise is there, the knowledge is there, the lessons are all the same. It's the language that you present it in and the format that
Mhm.
you present it in that has to shift slightly. Very
Yeah, and
easy
now
to.
you don't have to feel like you
Yeah.
know, you're boxed into something, you can have that full expression. And I want to go back to something that you mentioned just a little bit ago in terms of when people jump or kind of job
Yeah.
hopping or skill hopping in a sense. And I do believe that that's a part of the journey in terms of them being able to be more expansive and not get so locked into certain
Ooh.
things so that they can bring it into a cohesive experience, you know, in this era that is really designed, you know, for this, is that we look at even in like certain movies, like Hallmark movies, where you have the corporate executive woman or man or so, and then they go on a trip and then they find that they no longer want to do that. They want something more simplified, or,
Yeah.
you know, they take on something different. But what's happening in this era is that individuals are not just making shifts from leaving one position to go to another type of, let's say, career.
Yeah.
They're wanting to be more expressive. And as you know, that's what I teach in terms of being a brand expression and an empire expression versus just a traditional brand identity. And this is what individuals have to start to anchor in. I would say it's a new way of brand and business beingness as a multifaceted expression. And that way, you're not just identified in one core area. Because what happens, just like going back to the example of the movies like the Hallmark movies or Lifetime movies, in a sense, where people are making those shifts, is that they keep shifting from one thing to another because they think there's going to be some fulfillment. But until they can embody the authenticity, the wholeness of a
Yeah.
new brand identity, where they can shift into different roles, they can be seasonal with some. And then,
Yeah.
you know, you and I, we produce a lot of publications and products that are really timeless, that even if we
Right.
did not continuously serve it for a certain industry, we've already produced something that can be timeless for that particular niche focus.
Absolutely. And that's what really fills up the soul. It
Yes,
is
yes,
being able
yes.
to express your fullness, who
Mm-hmm.
you are. The other thing that happens, I think, is when people kind of, and I saw this happen with me, that you burn out with that one niche that you're going
Yes.
into, like you just hit your limit, and
Right.
something forces you out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the longest time, I just abandoned all of those skills.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to touch another dollar sign, another, you know, financial report ever again. And I went in a completely different direction for, probably the better part of 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I started to see, as I came through, and it kind of like the curtains opened, and I
Yes.
could see that all of
That
these
was
were part
lifted.
of the same world.
Yes.
And I could now bring that in, not in the heaviness that I participated in the past, but in this lightness, this joyfulness of a new world and a new audience and a new way of
Mm-hmm.
teaching. So I still teach financial management skills. I do, and I
Yes.
teach it to adults and executives. I do it in the higher vibration, and I bring
Mm-hmm.
vibration into it. I bring the law of attraction into it. I bring all of those other things and marry all of that stuff together. And it's so much more effective in this new world than the
Yeah,
old traditional
definitely.
way of produce a financial statement, send it to the Securities Commission, and move on to the next month. It is just so much more rewarding, but those skills never died. And
Right. No, they just evolve. They go through their own
yeah,
metamorphosis, and everything like what you mentioned, and that's been part of the process, as you mentioned, that you've had with me in terms of even the older skills or older empires or different things, they get reformatted into the newer part of the expression. It's not that
yeah,
they completely go away. They take on a new identity for what's relevant now. And it's because remember, that's a part of still your allness, but it's just how does it fit in the newer expansion? And I think what
absolutely.
happens a lot of times, what I see when taking individuals through brand and business metamorphosis, is that they've become so locked in a certain identity that when it's time for that to break down and that to decompose, and to take the brand from caterpillar into a butterfly expression, is that they have to lose that identity, the old identity, so that they can come into what I call, it's a new creation format of a brand. And this is where, when you start to go through that multiplicity, that multifaceted type of metamorphosis, then the allness starts to come up. And this is the great part, because this is where you can start to monetize your allness by being what I've coined for myself. I'm in the business of being fully me. And so
Yeah,
individuals want to be in the business of fully being them, that they think even outside of their business frameworks and their even their brand framework, so to speak, is that when you are an expression, you can be all things to all in a sense, and not necessarily have to have it even containerized in a business framework, if that makes sense.
absolutely. So as we kind of approaching the end of our time, winding this
Yes.
down, let me ask you what your vision is for a new world and how all these multifaceted brands that are going to be up and coming will contribute to helping people migrate from the
Mhm.
world of old into this brilliant new world that we see emerging right now.
Yeah, and that is an excellent question. That is wonderful. And that's such a great note to end on is, with my journey of evolving and metamorphosizing and evolutionizing and now optimizing a more fuller expression of the authenticity, is that this is the path for people to truly know who they truly are and to discover that. And so the experience is for them to have a new encounter with themselves. And what I'm providing just facilitates that. This is more than just identifying a brand identity and an empire identity. This is a holistic experience for people to know themselves on so many different levels. And the thing about it is that um, your brand is you, whether you're in business or not. You are a brand. You are a brand to your children, to your family. People come to know you a certain way. And so you're more than just one focus. People are moms, they're aunties, they're, serving different roles. And so when we can, in the new world, embody the fullness of us, that means that we will participate in the way of life that calls for that and supports that. And that's the frameworks that I've been teaching for quite some time, but even continuing to evolve those. And you've been, a part, of that.
And
Uh,
what I see in the world, I saw this when I was in business is, I always interviewed people for, what are your values and what are,
mhm,
how do they align with our corporate values? And then I say, what are your personal values? And
you're
so
right.
often they were completely different. And it was like, tear up that resume, you're out the door. Because I don't want somebody that shows up as two different people. This world is
Right.
steeped in deception now. We
It
don't
really
know.
is.
At this point, we don't know who to believe or what to believe or what's true or what's not true. And I think that that's going to just get more emphasized as things kind of break down and this new world comes through. But what a brilliant world we're creating where people show
Yes.
up as themselves and are embraced for being themselves and welcomed in, and all of the skills they bring to the table, the multifaceted nature of their being is
That's the personal
honored
and
and
professional
used and it
branding. Yeah.
contributes. Yeah,
Hmm.
like that is the beautiful, brilliant new world that's here now. It's here now if you're willing to engage with it,
Absolutely.
and it will just continue to grow down that path. And I'm very excited
Mhm.
for that. If you could leave people with just one simple thought or strategy to assist them in their transition, what would that
Mhm.
be?
Yeah, well, definitely, this journey is about uncovering who you are. And it's we've been talking today about really discovering your authentic brand identity, in a sense, is that the most important thing I would leave people with is that you have to truly know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, you can't be the fullness of what the divine has called you to be. You can't show up in this world as authentic. You can't show up in this world as your truth. If you don't know who you are, you can't expect anyone else to know that. And you certainly can't lead people in a more expansive way of discovering that for themselves. So you need to be the full embodiment of your truth and know and discover what that is at every life phase. And being in business, that's what you're going to bring to the marketplace so that the fullness of you can represent different levels and categories that people can sync up and find the different levels of their truth.
Absolutely. And just bring your brilliance to the world and let it shine.
Mm-hmm.
And, so many of us hold back because we don't know whether we're going to fit in or whether that's proper or not. And it's like shed all of those old belief systems and just
Right.
show up in the beautiful light that you came to this planet to shine. And that's what's going to contribute to this whole next new world. So
Absolutely.
thank you
And you'll
very much,
find your way.
AliNICOLE. Your brilliance shone
Thank you.
through once again. And I want, we will leave people with some notes at the bottom of this video where they
Yeah.
can find you, find me, do some work with us if they want to,
Yes.
check out some of our resources that are very plentiful, as noted
Mhm.
in your introduction. And we will leave some of those contacts in the notes to the video.
Right.
And other than that, we'll just move on with another great day. And thank you very much, all of you, everybody, for joining us. I think that you're going to bring your brilliance to the world, and I'm excited to see what that is. So enjoy the
Absolutely.
journey with us, and we will see you on another podcast episode.